This is the sales expansion loop. It's a new model for mapping where you are in the sales cycle for long, complex solution sales. The sales expansion loop is superior to the traditional sales funnel in a number of ways. The old sales funnel model was created in the post-World War II world of the 1950s, when products all looked the same and success was little more than a numbers game. You would start by calling on a lot of prospects. Some would move down the funnel and become a sale. Most would leak out of the funnel along the way. The old sales funnel gave salespeople the idea that selling had a start and an end point. Often, salespeople wouldn't call on a customer until a tender invited them to bid. Once the sale was finished, the salesperson moved on to the next deal, not calling on the customer until the next tender. The very shape of the sales funnel portrayed selling as a linear process. This transactional model did little to create a customer-oriented culture. Here in the 21st century, the sales expansion loop is the preferred model for solution sellers. It shows the customer relationship has no end. In fact, it should be managed as a renewable, natural resource you seed, nurture, and harvest. There are several stages in the sales expansion loop. Insight. The insight junction is where the process begins. As a solution seller, you'll cross this point 3 times in each sales cycle. It is at the very heart of your job as a salesperson. The first time you're at the insight junction is where you gain insight on the customer you want to sell to. You gain insight by following the loop into the research stage. In the research stage, you use Google, the company website, industry journals, earnings call reports, analyst opinions, and other sources to learn about the customer's industry, company, and people. This preparation is important if you want to distinguish yourself from vendors who only try to push their product without tailoring their messages to the customer's world. You know the type, those who see making a sale as an end in itself, often more interested in making their sales commission than in helping the customer improve their business results. Those types of sellers don't feel a need to do any research on their customers to understand their business or their people. But as a solution seller, you understand that your opening conversations and even the very people you choose to target must be shaped by what opportunities you spot for business process improvement through your solutions. Salespeople who have a deep level of curiosity about their customers and who spend the time doing research on them are always much better prepared to make the right first impression as a credible, informed consultant capable of challenging the customer's current thinking and opening them up to new ideas. When you open their mind, you open their budget. In the contact stage, you decide which people to approach and find a way to talk with them. Let's say you want to target a senior executive. If you try to cold call them, you have only a 4% chance of gaining that appointment. But if you first choose to contact people lower down in the organization and build a network of supporters who can then refer you in to meet that executive, your chances of success go up to 84%. And there's a specific approach for doing this that Sales Lab teaches in our Selling to the C-Suite workshop. But regardless of which person you contact first and who you decide to network to as you build a support base, there are 3 things a consultative conversation with these people must confirm. Their vision about what specific effect a solution must have on their business in terms of what problems and inefficiencies they want to improve, or what window of opportunity they want to take advantage of by doing something new. The full scope of people, process, or departments that will be impacted by the change you can bring to them. It's rare for a sale to be signed off by just one or two people. You will need to identify all the key stakeholders, meet them, and tailor your value proposition to each person's view of the world. Confirming the scope of who you must sell to is a critical step. Finally, you must make sure every early conversation confirms they agree they have a quantified need based on your conversation about the effect and scope you can fill for them. You will have this type of first call with multiple people, each time confirming the effect, scope, and need as they see it. The topics you hear discussed most often will reveal common issues they all agree on. By cataloguing these, you uncover what their list of formal decision criteria will most likely be later in the sales cycle. By making first calls that touch on these issues, you can seed ideas that shape the criteria to your advantage. Once you've contacted a number of people to confirm they have an interest in talking, you need to perform a formal step to rate how real your chances are of making the sale. You do this in the qualify stage. Sales Labs developed a 9-step qualification model that can tell you if you're winning or losing at every stage of the sale. We call it the opportunity snapshot. Here, early in the sale, we focus on 3 of the 9 criteria. Based on your research and first contact with people in the account, do real triggers exist for the customer to take action? Is there a compelling reason to buy, and to buy in the near future? This is critical to know before you put any opportunity on your sales forecast. You need to confirm, is it real? Next, are you talking to people who have the authority to make a purchasing decision? Or can any of the people you've contacted already take you there? It's no good selling to a company with a confirmed need and trigger to take action if you're not talking to the people who can sign a contract. Finally, they might have a compelling trigger to take action, and you might be talking to people with authority, but has a budget been assigned yet? If not, do the people you're meeting with have the power to find the budget by reprioritizing other investments so funds can flow to you? Without a budget, there can be no sale. When all 3 of these criteria are in place as a starting point, you can proceed in the knowledge that you have a qualified sales opportunity to pursue and win. But when they are not in place, you have no promise of success. In fact, you risk filling your pipeline with deals that will eventually run out of steam and go nowhere. The qualify stage of the sales expansion loop is like a toll gate. Until these 3 criteria are established, you should not pursue the opportunity. Win or lose, pursuing a sale costs your company money. So it makes sense to only go after sales that can give your company a return on that cost of sale. At this point in the sales cycle, you have qualified that the sale is real, with preliminary contact to a number of people. Now is when product vendors will feel an irresistible urge to start talking about their solution. Don't do it. All the research in the world indicates that before you sell the value of your solution, you must first sell yourself. People buy from people they trust. So until you've built a bank account of social capital with those people, you're not really ready to sell yet. This begins with seeing how many of the people you made first contact with will grant you access to the other people who are affected by the same issues or will benefit from your solution. Their willingness and ability to network you to other people is a key ingredient in building social capital. In a way, each referral helps you cash in on the credibility of the person making the introduction. They're vouching for you, which sends the message you're worth talking to. Person by person, call by call, lunch by lunch, your task is to make each meeting build your personal credibility, reputation, and appeal. These stakeholders must like and believe in you before they will believe anything you tell them about your product or company. It's at this stage of the sale that you will pass through the insight junction for the second time, another toll gate where you take stock of how you're tracking. Here, you want to ask yourself, is the customer gaining insight from me? Are they listening? Are they engaged? If you're not able to connect to the key people you need on your side, if you're locked into low-level contacts with little influence or authority, then you might want to question if it really makes sense to go through the motions of preparing presentations, demos, or even sending in a formal proposal if the very people you need to vote for you don't know you or don't support you. Perhaps you need to take a step back and reset with new contacts before going forward. But if you are connected to the right people, and if your business-focused discussions are winning you credibility and trust with them, then you should be able to continue qualifying the sale. You'll want to gauge which of the people you're talking to are opinion leaders that others follow. These are the people with most influence over the decision-making process. Some might be very vocal for you. Others might be vocal against you. It's critical that you win friends with the most powerful, influential people. You'll want to start asking if they're considering ideas from your competition. Maybe there's already an incumbent supplier in the account, or maybe some of the things the customer says will be phrased in such a way that you can tell it's come straight from a competitor. It's not enough to just ask if you're doing well in the sale. Successful salespeople always seek to know who they're selling against so they know how to differentiate. The time you spend building social capital with different buyers and stakeholders is the best time to qualify what other options they may be considering. These discussions will give you the beginning of a value hypothesis for each key stakeholder. This isn't a formal calculation of your return on investment or economic value add. This early in the sale, it's too early for that. But what you can do is suggest that based on your discussions to date, you feel there is a very good chance that the things they want to improve and the things your company does very well appear to be a good fit, and that you'd like to explore it with them to mutually develop a solution and calculate the impact it could have. This is just a hypothesis at this stage, and you're inviting them to help you test it. This creates a spirit of partnership. It helps you block time in their calendar. Salespeople who involve the customer in the outcome start selling with the customer instead of selling to them. It makes all the difference in the world. It's in the exploration of the value hypothesis that you start to be in a position to pitch your business capital. You'll mutually agree what your solution needs to look like for each person, department, or process that needs to be improved. Based on how you've discovered you and your competition are seen through the customer's eyes, you'll be able to decide if you're in a strong or weak position and what competitive strategy you need to adopt in the sale. There's a specific approach for doing this that Sales Labs teaches in our Target Opportunity Selling workshop. When you know what the customer wants or needs to buy, and what areas to emphasize to help you differentiate from competitors, You might script demos, customer site visits, workshops, or presentations to give proof that you can deliver what you've started to set an expectation around. At this stage of the sale, you're ready to really compete on value. This is where, based on the customer's feedback, you define a formal, quantified value proposition for the impact your solution will have on their business. It's typical for transactional salespeople to provide one boilerplate value proposition in their presentation or proposal. But solution sellers who have spent time developing social capital know that they need to sell a tailored value proposition to each person they've sold to during the sale. This is absolutely critical to winning votes in the closing stages of the sale. You will want to present your personalized value proposition to the stakeholders with formal authority or informal influence over others. You need to gain their verbal agreement that they believe in you, your solution, and your ability to deliver it inside their organization. You determine your chances of winning based on their willingness to give this verbal assurance and their ability to share insight on who you need to convince better and what they will do to help you. In the very closing stages of the sale, you may be shortlisted and enter into a period where you are asked to negotiate on price, service, or other terms and conditions before the final decision is made. Here, you leverage your social capital with key stakeholders, emphasizing your business capital and value. You need to decide if you are in a position of strength to stand behind your original offer, or if a concession must be granted. Be careful, however, because granting concessions can sometimes erode your credibility if it looks like you are not confident in your product or its value compared to rival offers. It always pays to ask for their signature on your order form or contract as often as appropriate. If you've managed relationships correctly earlier in the sales cycle, the buyers should have no problem giving their final approval to proceed with you as their supplier. This is when you close the sale and start delivering on your solution. This is where transactional salespeople stop, because it's where the sales funnel shows their activity should end. But real solution sellers know that the customer will want to know if the promises made during the sales cycle were actually delivered and if the expected value came to pass. This is where you need to have the courage to revisit the customer, every stakeholder you built social capital and business capital with, to quantify the extent to which your solution moved the needle and improved their world. This is called a value track exercise. It should be considered a mandatory step for solution sellers to close off one sale, track the benefits delivered, and then use that proof as a springboard to launch the next sales idea from. Salespeople who do this can prime new sales with no competitors. They truly become trusted advisors. This is where you pass through the insight junction for the third time in the sale, to give insight to the customer about their return on investment and to gain insight on additional ways you can be of service to them as an extension of your past work. The sales expansion loop stands as a new model for managing complex, strategic solution sales. It is more customer aligned than the outdated sales funnel. For the first time, it gives solution sellers their own model for managing the sales cycle that is based on the realities of how customers really buy and how deals of this magnitude are pulled together. The sales expansion loop is just another contribution Sales Labs is making to the science and art of selling.